Hey, I'm William from William Palm Art. From William Palm Art. Sorry there. Yeah, I'm going to take a few minutes to get a little more detail into this train. I am working with watercolors, and I'm laying in kind of monotone washes to get this painting to come to life. So right now I'm at a area where I just want to do a couple of quick refinements here. I dropped some water here, so I'm just going to lift that out before it sets or stains. Alright, so right now I'm using some liner brushes. I have a low Cornell number 3 and a Raphael 0, and I'll probably pull a couple more brushes that I like to use when I'm detailing the trains. One of the first things I'm going to do after this is set up and dried, I'm going to come in and just kind of play with this shadow edge a little bit. I didn't really love the way this was kind of coming down, so I'm going to rub this out and see if I can't gradate it just a hair. Not a lot. I'm going to let it dissipate in this steam area. I feel like I'm adding more to that steam area than I need to. There's a little hints of steam here. Again, using Holbein watercolors on this one. I'm working on 9x12 New York Central. I don't know if I said this in the first video, but I'm using New York Central paper here, and I am just going to come in and do a couple of more refinements on the bridge. Now my paper's had time to dry, so painting on this, I'm not going to lose a lot of control on these edges that I feel like I might want to bring out when I start adding definition here. So I am going to put just enough definition with another layer of paint here to let this come to life just a little bit more. And I had a couple of spots in here that I wanted to come back in. There we go. Wake that up just a little more. Some water. It's a little dark. But I'm feeling like I just wanted to bring this together a little bit more. All right. One more check here. It's a little darker right there. And in there. All right. Let's see if I can kind of overwork that a bit. So I'm gonna just see if I can reactivate it and pull some of that out, or I could even try adding a touch more definition in this area, just so I don't have, that might help turn this into a bit of a pattern. All right. I do want that to disappear a little bit. Again, the painting is not completely about the bridge, but I do want that a little more refined. I hope that makes sense. Hope I'm staying on the camera too. I feel like I keep putting my head down a little closer than I normally do. Going to see if I can put some finishing touches to the passenger car disappearing back here. And that gets lost behind the bridge right about here. And just get some reflective marks. And these can kind of go slow and steady here. Bring this down a little bit. And this disappears behind some steam. And let that come back up and dissipate a little bit. I feel like there might be a indication of one more car back there. Just enough. Got a couple of little sections here that I want. All right. We'll let that go and see how that does. I am going to let that disappear back here. I don't want to rush this and then have angles that just don't work. All right. Let's see if that does a little better for a minute. This does disappear. So I'll let that. Not so much disappears as a little something over it. All right. I'm gonna wake this up. I'm gonna throw a little brown, a little bit of that burnt umber into that Davy's gray I'm using. Not so much to warm it up or change it, but just to see if this gives me a touch blacker of a mark. There we go. And a couple of, pull that back a little bit. And then just enough shadow back here where cars appear to overlap. And we'll get a little refinement. I feel like there's a bit more shadow in here. Good amount of light shine on the gondola. We do have some accents here that come out behind the engine. Got a little water just to loosen that paint up. Get a little hint of markings on the side. Not super dark up there, but enough. I'm gonna, all right, I think okay, so I'll try not to go into these little ghost quiets on here, but sometimes when I'm adding definition to a piece, sometimes I'll have a moment where I get quiet for a second when I'm detailing, but I'll try to be thoughtful of that as I'm doing this for demonstration. All right, see if I can't bring this engine a little more to life. Trying again not to overwork this. We do have, and again, I'm going to most likely push this a little bit past some of the, I'm going to push this a little bit past some of the areas. I hope I didn't go too dark on that door. There's a window roughly there. Gonna come in and paint around that door. And put a little accent in here. And I feel like I want to come just a little darker on the shadow sides. Again, using a little bit of that burnt sienna to deepen this. Little pull that out. Might come back and ink those a little bit. Come down around here and carefully add a little more definition. There we go. That's not pure white there, so I'm going to a little piece in here. Let's see if I can get just enough of some of the wires and support coming off of here. And there's a all right. Painting, painting, painting. A little dose more around this door. And try to window right there. All right, so as I continue to play with this train, the one thing I'll try to do here now is push in areas of darker dark, try to leave definition where I want it to be seen. I'm gonna loosen that up a little bit. This comes back here. Get a little more shadow on there. And I will make sure I look at my reference quite a bit to find some of the accents that I'm seeing on the side of the engine. Little wires, poles, stuff like that. And for this one, I'll probably just indicate them. One thing when I paint watercolor trains, when I do paint train engines, I can really get lost in some of these little details along the way. And I feel like when you're painting something like an engine or an architectural piece or anything with engineering, getting a little lost in some of these areas to me is not, it just makes sense to me. All these little areas of detail. Wheels, brakes, canisters, wiring, all sorts of stuff that goes on. And a lot of times I like to get the essence of what's in here. Painting a shadow tone first. Just going to deepen this section a little bit and come right back on it. Some thicker paint. Hopefully this will hold up to the water. There's less water in the paint, but it almost feels like it melts into the watercolor a little bit, which I'm completely fine with here. So with the positioning of the train, you really want to get just enough in here, just enough headed that Alright, this kind of comes up here. We'll divide that and let it wrap. Hopefully that's not too off. Little hints of that. Make some marks that look like go a little darker here so it looks like it's curving down a little bit more. Might even have a little hint of reflection on here. Be support about right there. Go a hair darker here. Alright, these little whispers now. And also the point, I'll tell people, I'm like, don't be afraid to let off a little bit of a choo-choo when you're painting these. Alright, get a little more shadow coming down there. Now, there is a hint of steam coming up over the engine, so I'm not going to over detail that section. It gets a little on the lost side. Just going to come right up here and attempt to tighten this up a bit. All right, it's also another point where I'm not really zooming or really going extra close to my reference. This is a point where when I'm spending a little more time on this, I will come in and that's if I don't. All right, pick up some of that. Okay, so little shadows under here, shadows under there. I'm going to try to indicate this a little quicker than I normally do. Darken this section in shadow. Carefully refine that cylinder. Okay, this can go a little darker under here. Try not to lose the cable I'm seeing, catching some light. And again, coming in with some blacker colors. Just going to go a little blacker coming into here. deeper down here. A little deeper over there. Nice broad little mark. A little doodling in there to kind of catch the coupler. Hopefully I don't overwork that. Shadow coming down in here. Just a little. I'm getting overzealous in my marks now. Just pull that back in there. And 2 hairs and some air. Some of this detail needs not much. Do have a bit of water there fighting with me, so I'll come back to it. See if I can refine some of these steps. A little extra marking in there. All right, this comes down under here. A little darker on the pole. I might go back and add some snow to that. Got a little darker coming under here. A little darker over there. I guess I'm gonna let not a bunch of water here, but just let that hopefully fade down a little bit. Okay that this has got some dry on it. Gonna just rough that up a little bit in there. A little more work on the coupler. Add a little base, so hopefully it'll look like it's standing out at us. A little cast shadow under there too. Might have gone a little overzealous right there. Just bring that back in a pattern. Alright. Since I'm only using browns, and I'm going to see if I can get instead of the headlight, I'm just going to come in and see. I almost wasn't going to touch this without the hint of yellow, but I'll just let that come out for a minute. Got some numbers in red too, and since I'm not going too far off, let's see if I can pull that more. Got the right numbers on here. All right. see if I can give a couple more of these areas just a little more love. I do like to get a touch more refined when I am painting these. Right there and there. But I'm going to see if I can quickly bring this to life. A combination of playing with, if I do this right, it's going to look like drawing and painting at the same time. Get the indication of shadows where the bolts are. Wire wrapping around. A little shadow there. I'm not trying to rush the painting per se, but I do want to get this to where it's going to go. A couple of shadows to show that that's bolted on. I'm being a little freer. I usually like to make those a lot more carefully. But for the purpose of this, I think for the purpose of this painting, it'll be fine. And again, I think I've said this in a video. If I don't love it, I can go into come in here. There's a little edge, a couple little pieces over there. That can go a little darker. And try to let that fade again. Bring this up over here. I can go darker under the number boxes. I haven't decided. I usually like to fill those in, but alright. Pull some of that homemade black, that burnt sienna. There we go. I think I better slow down just a touch. Slow and purposeful. I'm pretty sure I'll push this to some semblance of done. There's a shadow in here. I feel like that box might have been a little narrow, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm not gonna, at this point, I wanna do my best to give this a sense of finish. there's a bit of an edge right there. Double checking my reference. I like to build this up in layers anyway. I think it gets a nice little natural feel to it. Be careful right there. That could have been a night. Got a little burnt umber on here. Trying to keep that ellipse, little hint of the light in there. That gets darker coming down here. Go more for that black mixture. Alright, I think I crucified my numbers, but I'm not gonna, again, just not gonna get that upset about it. It's a painting that I certainly would not have any concern of giving this a redo if I chose to. I have other engines I want to paint too, so that'll certain times too where I'm like, fix it the best I can. Now when this does dry completely, if I feel like some of these dark areas have to come up a little bit, I can glaze. It's a little pale even for catching some light. Couple of darker defining parts down here. Again, just enough to alright, I don't want to overwork this. Don't think I am, but just in case. I am using, usually I wait for this to dry, but I think the paint will be thick enough to hold up to some of the water in here. Little box for that lamp. Just enough. Another little, I got my paint pretty concentrated in here right now. So anywhere where this is on the wet side, throw a couple little darker definitions down in here too. Just some patterns that I'm seeing. Remember, it gets mist, it's almost translucent in there. Another little bar right there. And that's almost black. I'm not using any true black. There's all little mixtures, burnt umber, and Davy's gray. Just quickly indicating some of the mechanics back there. Just little patterns. If I wanted this even more defined, I would just keep working the patterns. A little added. Alright. Now I'm getting a little, don't overwork it from here. Hopefully I did not lose I think that's where I'll leave that part. One of the last little things, I think I'm just going to do this with a brush. Got a kind of grayish hint of train track coming over here. Vanishing point, slow and steady. Just going to give a couple of soft shadow marks over the snow. Hopefully that'll do. Gonna let this steam. And a touch bit of shadow under the tree. I think that's where I'll call this one for now. So just give a little edge in there. I'm okay with the snow if that's, there we go. A little darker there. Break up this little front area just a little bit. Maybe. This part's a little on the brave side because I don't want just this giant. I do feel like I gotta get a little sense. Something here. And some sort of quick little shadow, show off snowbanks or whatever. I'm hoping that this couple of quick marks will do it, just for now. And there is one last little tidbit. I'm seeing some sticks. Wake up some. It's going to be grayish. I don't want it to be black. Again, hopefully the paint, but poking through the snow. All right, about there. You can see the paint bleeding out on me here. So I'm just hoping. Just a couple little wash marks, little things in the snow. Anyway, I think for now, I'm going to call this one done. I might come into it later on and see if I want to edge anything else. And that shadow can go under the train. There we go. All right. I think I'll let this one be for now. Hopefully my name will hold up here. Detailing on this train, the snowy day blowing through the bridge, and I do hope you enjoyed that. Call this one done for now. Thank you for watching, and there'll be more soon. If you like this, give a like and subscribe. Bye now.